Shame.
Yeah, it is. We just met that guy 2 years
We're
ago
on.
too.
Hold up, Ty. Hold up, Ty.
That's a direct order. Do it now.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, September 4th, 2025. We are Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. I'm here with a few of my friends. I have D with us. I have AC. I have Mark. I have Will. I have Cheech. I have Melba. I have Jim. And I have Ty Green, all with us on today. Before we get started, we're going to have a moment of silence for law enforcement, military, and even loved ones that have transitioned and passed on. And then we'll have a disclaimer coming from Cheech and a statement of purpose coming from Melba. All right. Cheech, give us our disclaimer, then Melba with our statement of purpose.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, we wanted to go over a couple of things. First, we want to let you know that comments made by members of Roll Call are not intended to be any legal advice. They're the opinions of each individual. For legal advice, please consult with your local police department. Remember that the laws change from village to village, city to city, state to state. Um, Also, once in a while, this panel does display a graphic, some videos that may be graphic in nature. We use these to spark our conversations. They are not intended to offend anybody. They are not the property of roll call. Yet these videos from social media like YouTube and Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. So you all have access to it. A member of the panel will let you know if we have any that may be graphic in nature. Also, the language used by members of roll call is very spontaneous. Everybody here speaks from the heart. We don't hold back. We hope you don't get offended by it. We don't take it personal. We don't want you to take it personal. You will see that sometimes we don't agree on anything, but like I said, we don't take it personal. Um, and that's it. Melba?
Hey, roll callers. We have four basic tenets, right? We are number one, we are pro law enforcement. We are anti-racism. We believe in equitable policing. And number four, Black lives do matter. That's
All
it.
right. Thank you so much, Cheech, and thank you so much, Melba. Thank you for joining us today, Derek and Reverend Larry Camp. Thank you both for joining us as well. I think that's the last one that joined us. Okay. We're still praying for JT in Orlando. We had a chance to speak to him. I let him. I spoke to him on the air before we got on the air, but through our Zoom to let everybody know what's going on. He's been taking care of his wife, running around with his wife, taking care of some business, but he is doing okay, and he's hoping to be back with us shortly. Anna and Cheech, we continue praying for you. Mark, we continue praying for your healing. I know it's not over. And then Joaquin Centeno and Marlon Townsend were both Hempstead firemen. One was a church musician as well. But Joaquin was Cheech's nephew. They both passed away in the same week. I don't know how Marlon passed away, but I just heard Joaquin passed away in a motor vehicle accident. We're praying for the families. Cheech, we're praying especially for you. With everything that you're going through, to add something else on top of that, that's something on top of something else. It just keeps on going. We just want you to know that you're in our prayers. Um, also, today is a national holiday because today is my mother's birthday. So she's celebrating her birthday today. And listen, and I put on my Facebook page that I'm blessed to have my mother still with me here in the land of the dying, on her way to the land of the living. Now, some people always say, "Well, why'd you say that?" Because I stole it from Reverend Frank Ray, and Reverend Frank Ray says that this is the only place where dying takes place. Living takes place up there. And so that's why I say the land of the dying on the way to the land of the living. So that's that.
Wait, Don.
Yes, yes.
I
No,
also want to give a shout out to my godson, Jaden Smith, who is also the son of retired police officer Mandy Smith. It is his birthday also today. So happy
well,
birthday,
congratulations. Oh, if she's
Dad.
listening,
I don't
congratulations.
know. I don't know. She retired. She got time to do it. So
So,
she
so Camp,
she
I
got
know,
time now.
I know. So Camp, I know you're probably not looking at the Facebook Live, but
No, I'm not. I don't even know where my phone is.
no,
Oh,
not even you. But we need someone to monitor that. Reverend Camp's brother, Brian Camp. Good afternoon. Happy birthday, Mom. That's one of my Facebook buddies, Camp. David Van Cliff is watching. Brian Camp, Donald Coleman, Richard Bowden says howdy. Howdy, Richie, Richard, and I'm gonna take your advice. Dee is already working on security for my church now, so we'll make sure we have a plan in case something happens, anything happens. And if y'all don't know D Schoon, put something in the chat for his professional services. I'm talking about free work. I'm talking about his professional services that he does, and he does a whole lot of stuff, a lot of training. Um, Listen, I have 3 cars at my house. He put in 3 cameras in all of my cars. I'm a camera in each one of my cars, front and rear. So if something happens, it's on video. And D School came by, and listen, and I tried to pay him. I had to make him take something, but I tried to pay him. And he's like, "No, that's not what we do." You know,
He's crazy, Donald. He's crazy, man. You
but
gotta pay him for his service, man.
and for what you get,
Exactly, bro. But he won't take it.
for what you get, it's actually worth it. So
Yeah.
he's gonna be coming out to my church to look at it, take photos, look at the entrances and exits, and give me a plan, give our church a plan, not me, give our church a plan to keep us safe. Because what was that? We just did something a couple of weeks about that, and that's what triggered it with me. Like, listen, I got to get some type of protocol. Oh, the school, which was a church as well. That mass shooting. So I'm telling you right now, put it in our chat, and I'm sure D School will get back to you. David Van Cleef says, "Amen, sir. Having access to your mother is a huge blessing." Colleen Bull says, "Hello, everyone." Hello, Miss Colleen. We miss you. We miss you. We miss you. Yes, we do. Renee Henderson says, "Afternoon to all." Richard, Rich is still celebrating his anniversary, right? I think Rich is celebrating his anniversary. So happy anniversary to Rich and Isabel. Happy anniversary to the two of them.
Don, he's trying to log on. His computer is still loading, so he's trying to get on. Rich.
Okay, so we'll notice it, but still happy anniversary to Rich and Isabel. All right. Will's gonna lead us in our conversation today. Tyrone's got to leave early because he has daddy duty. And so anybody knows anything about being a parent or a grandparent, it just never stops, right, Jim? Right, Mark? Cheech, you don't know nothing about this. Well, you know about the daddy duty. But you're heading into granddaddy duty. That's going. Listen. I love it. All right. So and Camp love it. Look at Camp. Congratulations to Camp's daughter, Niger Camp, who just recently got married within the last 2 weeks, right, Camp? So his daughter just got married. So congratulations to her. And make sure I'm not forgetting anything. I'm not forgetting
Dave's grandbaby's birthday.
Zane. Yeah. Zane celebrated her birthday, her 4th birthday.
Is it Zane or Jeanne?
I don't know what it is.
It looks like Jeanne.
Johnny.
Is that what it is?
It's
One of my
Jeanne.
favorite all-time groups. So yeah, Johnny.
I went to school with them, Will.
Oh wow.
A lot like Tarjay.
Okay.
No, it's Jean and Renee, and their names together,
Oh,
they
that's
made
cool.
it Jeanne.
Jeanne.
Yes.
That's very cool. That's very cool.
All right. Well, listen. Happy birthday to her. All right. Anyone else? This the time to do it because this is where before we start getting into some stuff and can't get out of it. And thank you to Mark because my son's friends from the neighborhood had a celebration for him on this past Saturday. Where they invited the community to come on out, and people came out. Mark came out, his wife, his grandson, they came out. We had a great time there. Just to honor him, I saw the button on at the beginning of the show. I saw that. We appreciate that. We're actually going on a year. October will be a year that he has transitioned. So it's been, and someone has asked, how's it been? It's been rough. And I know a preacher friend of mine that's going through the same thing. It happened like shortly after my son passed away. He went through it, and he was in a dump, and I was in a dump. We talked to each other. I called him to try to console him a little bit, and as soon as I heard his voice, I break down crying. Because it's a hard situation. And someone says, I forgot how to exactly put it, but it put it something like this: that the rain may stop, but the clouds are still there. And that's how I started looking at it, like, it's not, the pain doesn't always be as sharp, but it's still pain. So you'll keep us in prayer as well. And we're definitely praying for the Centeno family and the Townsend family from the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, the firemen that transitioned in 1 week, two Hempstead firemen in 1 week that have transitioned. So Brian Camp says, congratulations to my niece. All right. So I'm trying to keep up with some of these comments over here. All right. Anybody else before I turn over to Will Quick? Will Quick is going to lead us in the discussion. All right. Go ahead, Will.
All right, we ready to roll with it?
Yes, sir.
Without further ado, D Scoon, show us what you do, man.
All right, the first video is going to take us to Georgia. As we heard in the news, 3 teens attempted to rob a former military guy in his home. They were armed and they kicked in his front door. Let's take a look.
A deadly incident in Rockdale County, Georgia, is making headlines after 3 teenagers were killed in what police say was an attempted armed robbery. According to the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office, the shooting happened around 4 a.m. on White Oak Court in Conyers. Investigators say 3 teens, 2 16-year-old boys and a 15-year-old, approached a home wearing masks. They were reportedly trying to rob 3 people in the front yard. Sheriff Eric Levitt said one of the teens pulled out a gun and fired at the residents. One of the intended victims returned fire, hitting all 3 suspects. One teen died at the scene. The other 2 were taken to a hospital where they also died. Family members have identified 2 of the teens as brothers. 16-year-old Isaiah Reed and his 15-year-old sibling, Jamie Hernandez, were described as close and loving by their aunt, LaShawn Thornton. The third teen was identified as 16-year-old Brandon Gresham. Thornton says the family is heartbroken and wants answers about why the teens were out so late, why they were wearing masks, and whether they might have been shot while running away.
Well, I hope that we could, as a family, I hope that someone could come forward and let us know what's going on, because this is like devastating to my family that's going on. These are 3 young teens that are dead now, and we all love.
The sheriff's office says the residents were not injured. Investigators are still gathering evidence, including shell casings, to piece together what happened. Legal experts explain that Georgia's Stand Your Ground law allows people to defend themselves, others, or their property, sometimes with deadly force, if they believe it is necessary. Whether this case will be ruled self-defense or lead to charges is still under investigation. For now, a family is mourning the loss of 3 young lives, and a community is left with more questions than answers.
Can I start, Will?
You most certainly can.
Listen, what do we expect?
Yeah.
What do we expect? Someone comes and then they say that one of them already fired a weapon, right?
Yes.
So we already know that there's definitely a weapon there. There's definitely 3 young men with masks. Now, we must understand this, that the resident don't know the age of these kids, and it really doesn't make a difference at this point. He's in danger, and his whole household's in danger at this point. We got to stop making excuses for bad behavior.
Yes, Donald. Yes.
We got to stop making excuses for bad behavior. This wasn't their first rodeo.
No, they fired a weapon too, Donald.
I know. I mean, they intended to take someone out of here.
Yeah.
With that weapon, and it just so happened that the tables turned. That's my point of view, and I know some people are going to say, "Well, they were kids." Listen, y'all. To be honest with you, I'm not concerned about age when I'm concerned about my life and the life of my family. That's where I am. I'm going to protect my family.
When you go looking for trouble, there's a really good chance you'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no phone. The rapper got the gun.
Yeah. So, it sounds callous, but it is truly a FAFO scenario. And I want to see if somebody else is going to bring out a point to what the lady representing the family said. So, Don, if you don't have anything else, we're going to move on to D.
Oh yeah, D, Derek, and Jim.
Okay, really quick. Usually after the videos, because I gotta sift through. We don't want 20-minute videos, so I try to sift through and get as much information as we can. And some of the information I get is first night information. For example, they said the people were on the porch. These boys actually kicked in the front door and let a round go. I want to be clear about that, because everybody's like, they were on the porch. That sounds, oh, well, they're on the porch and they were running away. That's the mindset. No, they kicked this guy's front door in and took a shot. And he returned fire. Now, I'm trying to figure out a way on Zoom to turn my camera upside down, because that's the world we're in right now. We're in an upside down world where somebody can come in your front door that your blood and sweat tears paid for. They can have a gun. They can shoot in there, or ostensibly to shoot you and your family. And then they get a nice gathering of people saying that something was wrong. They were only kids. I get the only kid conversation, but that's not every conversation. And as I explained before, I'm in the high school. I see these kids. we can't use that word for them. And I try not to use kids. Some of them are children. We can't use that word. Some of these people are young adults. And from their inception, they don't have the requisite mindset of right and wrong. And then the expectation of I know if I come into Don's door with a gun in my hand, as much as I know his family, love him and his family, and I come in there and I take a shot, I understand cancel Christmas. I don't know about y'all. I understand cancel Christmas. As much as all these other things might go on, I get that. The majority of our society doesn't have the mindset now that there's going to be any consequences. I can do whatever I want to whoever I want, however I want. I can unalive, and for some reason I expect to survive that situation, walk away, and at some point in my life I'm going to be praised and allowed to flourish. Now, I think that mindset is the problem. I think whoever's teaching, I guess the people that are teaching, the people who are teaching, the people who are teaching are wrong. So that's why these messages are gotten out there. I think we got to understand right and wrong. When you do one thing wrong, I know some of you got mad at me when I said I don't go back and forth. I never did while I was working. And you said, well, come on, you got to give them a chance. I know. There are no chances. These boys learned the lesson of there are no chances. If you come through this front door, you don't even have to have a firearm. You don't have to be brothers. You don't even have to take a shot. When you come through this front door, you gonna find out. And I'm fine with that. And you gotta understand, people work hard for the things that they have. Let me speak to youngsters for a minute, and then I'm gonna stop. People work hard for the things that they have. We have these conversations. Well, you have it, you have insurance, you'll get it back. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. People work very hard for what they have, and they're willing to protect it. So if you want things, there are illegal, honest ways of doing things. At my front door with your boys, and a firearm ain't one of them. I just want to be clear.
I mean, it really doesn't get much more complicated than that, D. When you're in your house, if there's no other place that you expect to be safe and comfortable, it needs to be in your home. And even without the law, it is clearly reasonable that if you're facing a threat in your home, then you have to defend your home with whatever means is available to you to do that. Derek, what you got?
Yeah, not only did they say that these were kids, they were loving kids. The brothers were loving brothers. And it's one set of siblings and another kid. That means two sets of parents either didn't know or thought it was okay for their children to be out of the house at 4 a.m. What are these kids doing out at 4 a.m.? I wasn't out of the house at 4 a.m. when I was 15 and 16. We had curfews, and our curfews were parent-based. Our parents controlled what time we got home. And we either had to be there or we were in trouble, and the next time it was time to go somewhere, we weren't going. The parents should be held accountable for this. These kids happen to come across someone that happened to break into someone's house that happened to be competent. And they broke in and started a war, and they lost the war. Point blank, they lost the war. There is no loving kids. You're 15 or 16 years old. You're running around with a gun, kicking in people's doors. You're criminals. And you're starting a war, and they happen to lose the war. And the lucky kid was the one that died on scene, because the other ones had time to think about it. They got to feel some pain, and they got to feel the life leaving their body, and they had some time to think about it. So the one that died immediately was lucky. And I don't know if you all heard, but there was another incident in Houston where initially they said the kid was 10. Now they said he's actually 11. And this happened last week, playing ding dong ditch at 11 p.m. and the kid got shot and got killed. And why is a 10 or 11-year-old out running around at 11 p.m.? I mean, when I was 10 or 11, the only time I was out at 11 p.m. is if my family was coming home from somewhere and I was in the car with my parents. There was no being in the street. And it's funny, I had a discussion with a friend of mine, and a friend was like, well, maybe it was a Friday or a Saturday, or, you know, and they didn't have school the next day. I said, I don't care what day of the week it was. At 10 or 11 years old, your butt's supposed to be in the house. And you're supposed to be in the house by the time it turns dark. But parents are giving their kids too much rope, and the kids are creating problems for themselves, and they're paying the price, some of them with their lives.
So
that's all
when I was listening to you, Derek, and I heard where you were going, some of you all probably noticed the look on my face like, let's get ready to go down. And I saw a hand wave. So, Ms. Block, if you'd be so kind to take yourself off mute.
Hey, so what I was gonna say is I absolutely agree, because I put in our private chat, my mama was the first one to say my house ain't no flop house, so you ain't gonna be coming in and out of here anytime you feel like it or you please, right? But I think fundamentally we do, and listen, I think consequences are absolutely, it had an unfortunate outcome, but these children need to understand that there are consequences for their actions. You can't just out and about all times of night shooting into people's houses. That's an absolute no-no. But I think that a wayward 11-year-old playing in ding dong ditch is fundamentally different, and being shot to death is fundamentally different than three mass teenagers rolling up on
Following breaking news, President
with
Trump.
a weapon. And then I think you were gonna get into that video. Were you gonna play the video with the ding dong ditch? Let's go to that one first, since we're already moving in that direction.
Let's put in that, since we already had this one up and we got some hands up. Let's put a pin. We know we're gonna come back to it.
It's on the list.
It's gonna be fresh on our mind.
On the list.
So let's put a pin in that. And Jim, what's on your mind?
Yeah, Melba really said what I was going to say, but I think we're going to watch the other video, so we'll get into it deeper then. But we have to understand something. There's a big difference between kids sneaking out late at night, or even if their parents are terrible parents and let them out at night, and doing stupid kid things, and putting masks on, kicking in a door and taking a shot, committing an armed robbery.
Yeah.
That's not a kid prank. That's not, when I said earlier, say, hey, 11-year-old doing kid stuff. That's not kid stuff. These guys knew what they were doing. They had masks. They were robbing the place. They kicked the door in. They took a shot. That's not kid behavior. Okay. So we've got to separate it. Absolutely. Kids shouldn't be out 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, but they are. They sneak out. There's bad parenting. There's good parenting when the kids sneak out. There's all kinds of reasons kids do stupid things. Okay, but we got to separate it. We have to make sure we don't lump them together, that kids just being kids doing dumb things, and these guys who were committing an armed robbery. And I think it was Donald that said earlier, it's probably not their first go at this. So, they're totally different things. And I'm sure we're going to talk more after we see the other video.
So with this, we have the luxury of having information that the people that responded in these two cases didn't have. Now, obviously, the gentleman who was getting robbed and they fired the shot, no question. The gentleman whose doorbell got rung at 11 o'clock at night, there's a lot more questions there, but we have the luxury of the story as how it happened. But in the moment, at the time it happened, I'm not justifying what he did by any means, or what happened, I should say. But you have to consider in the moment, as a civilian, not a trained law enforcement officer, as a civilian, your doorbell rings at 11 o'clock at night and you go to that door and you all of a sudden see someone running away. Again, I'm not justifying that he shot at them running away, but you're thinking that they are up to no good, because otherwise, why would they be running away? So we have the luxury of being law enforcement and having experience, because how many times have we dealt with someone that might not have been anything really bad, just, a suspicious condition, and the person, because of their movement towards their waist, caused a reaction where we either pulled our gun or we heard where someone pulled a gun and shot. And it turns out that they would just happen to have their hand on their waist. That's the way they stand. So we have to bring the objectivity, in my opinion, to the situation. We all have a whole different perspective about it, and that's respected. But we have to also give respect and objectivity to the lay person. AC, you next.
You got Jim. Get Jim real quick.
Jim. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that perception, only because of the firing a weapon. I don't disagree that he may have thought all kinds of things. I mean that civilians being what they are, maybe the late of the night, et cetera, et cetera. I don't disagree that in his mind something was happening, but obviously to shoot and kill a guy that's running away, you're not going to justify that of any kind. And I'm not going to give him any credit or I don't know what the right word is for his state of mind at the time. I won't. I think that I guess speaking from somebody that played ring the doorbell and run away many times in my childhood, I understand how that game is played. So, I just I understand what you're saying, Will. I understand that in his mind as a civilian at that time of night and things going on in the world today, he could have really thought this guy was up to no good. But he should have closed the door, called 911.
I wouldn't have answered my door.
He didn't have to answer.
I wouldn't have answered my door.
I don't answer my door all the time.
Well, shoot. You come to my house at 11 o'clock. I'm going to my door.
Not me.
I am. Well, that's a female's point of view too, and even Melba, who is a retired law enforcement, she said she's not going to her door either. I'm going to my door.
No,
I'm going, but I'm not going empty-handed.
So here's the thing: if you don't go to the door, if you don't go to the door and investigate, how do you not know that this isn't a dry run test to see if anybody's home for them to break in?
Because I think at this point in time, right? I think a great number of people have some type of surveillance doorbell.
Everybody.
That's most of they don't have like cameras. They have cameras all around their house. If they don't have a full out camera around their house, at the minimum, they have some type of surveillance doorbell that you can have conversation with, right? And even if you were home, so that raises the risk of it being a push-in robbery at that point, because you've opened the door. So I'd rather stay in my house, and if I feel that threatened, I'm calling the police. But there is a moment when you have a choice whether or not you are going to escalate or not.
So to your point, Melba, you would agree that from the homeowner standpoint, there were preventative measures they could have taken, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. But you have to apply that same logic with this 11-year-old as well. If preventative measures were in place with the 11-year-old, whether it was his decision or lack of supervision.
They don't have the adult mind.
But again, whether his decision or a lack of supervision, we talk about the conversation that we have to have with our kids in regards to how they're supposed to interact. How can you, I'm having a difficult time not understanding how this isn't a part of the conversation with regards to 11-year-old. So
I'm not saying that it isn't part of the conversation. I'm sure that their parent did have this conversation, but let's also be real that this child is 11 years old. It does not have clear-cut, proper decision-making skills that even 20-year-olds do not have.
AC's trying to get in.
I see his hand, yeah.
I know he wants to see it, but on the end also, for quite some time, it depends on especially in these economic times, and you don't know why that 11-year-old, maybe he snuck out the house. Maybe there's a babysitter that fell asleep and mama works an overnight shift or daddy works an overnight shift, and they don't even realize that their 11-year-old has snuck out the house.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, when I was in elementary school, for the years, I guess 4th through 6th grade, me and my best friend were going to run away, and we were going to meet on the corner at midnight and walk the parkway, because that's where you went everywhere, and that's where we're going to run away. And the only reason why we didn't do it is because we slept through it.
Okay.
It didn't make sense. It was to an adult mind, it wasn't rational, but it was a kid thing. It's not proper decision making. And you constantly going to have those conversations. All of y'all that have boys, you ask your boy, why did he do that? Oh no, I don't know. That's the question. That's the answer. Why'd you do that? You knew that wasn't good. Oh no.
Mm-hmm. It still don't change the facts, though.
It doesn't change the fact. But I don't think somebody's baby should be dead over a ditch doorbell. Call the police.
I don't think so.
Stay
I
in
don't
your
think
house.
so. I don't think so either, Melba. But I'm still saying,
let's
not.
On one and got into this. I understand the connection, but let's try to get AC.
Yeah, AC.
The reason I'm trying to help you get in because we're doing a whole lot of talking about something that everybody else don't know what we're talking about.
I know. I want the video.
Let's hold on. They haven't seen that video yet.
Okay, so now
getting back to the first video.
Right. Exactly. Mark.
Getting back to the first video.
Oh.
Two things can be true at the same time. They can be very bad actors and they can also be loved. It's okay for their family to ask for a full investigation. Now, if it comes out as reported, I'm sorry, those people you love did bad things and they died with the understanding of why they died. They were killed doing bad things. But you can ask, and you should ask for a full investigation when someone is killed by somebody else. It's okay. You can love your loved ones, and they can do bad things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a problem them saying, "Hey, we need a full investigation." We should know why they died, if only to educate the rest of them not to do something stupid like this. That's one. What's this? Oh, also, in that scenario, being a person inside and someone's shooting come in your house, you're not protecting your property. You're protecting your life and your freedom, your peace, and everything you have that you are expected to keep inside your home. Everything that makes your home, that's what you're protecting. And it's more than reasonable to use deadly physical force against deadly physical force when somebody comes into your home.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I gotta say about number one, the first video.
Okay.
Mark?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. There's a few things. You kick in somebody's door. What are your expectations? If somebody's in there, there's a difference between a person who breaks into a house that he knows is unoccupied. But then that's a whole different type of criminal who wants to go into a house that's occupied. Their frame of mind is generally different. Okay, that's one. Two, now you're going in armed with a weapon. And I'm like, Donald,
discharging.
I don't care what age you are. Once you put that gun in your hand, once you decide to kick open the door, I mean, I've done it, and even with the other video, I've done a lot of pranks. But you knew there was a cost if you got caught.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, and me and my friends have never kicked open somebody's door. Okay, we never armed ourselves with a weapon. My dad was a cop. Last thing I ever thought about was touching his weapon. So, and AC's right. If the family wants an investigation, okay, we get it. And the police are going to do an investigation. But to cry that these kids were innocent or, whatever, listen, they might have been innocent up until the point
They pulled out a gun.
Put a gun. I'm sorry, Jerry. You want to finish? Okay. Up until the point that they put the gun in their hand and they kicked the door open. After that, everything changes. I'm done.
Fair enough. Done.
I just want to read some of the comments because one of my statements has to do with the next video. So I'm not
Okay.
going.
All right. I
I'm
was
not.
actually going to
I'm
go
gonna
into
be.
the comments. I thought you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be obedient to AC and Will on this one here. Um, um, David Van Cliff says 0 chances when you bring a gun to my door. Sounds like they love doing the wrong thing. I feel I feel for the family's losses, but the female describing how loving the teens were sounds like enabling behavior. Vice, why were they not in their beds? Dave, I'm with you so far. I'm with you all the way. How do we get from putting toilet paper on a house to armed robbery? I had to ask the TP because I didn't know what the TP was, but I had to ask. But it's toilet paper. Who answers? Colleen said, "Who answers with a gun?" I responded, Miss Colleen, me at 11 o'clock at night. All right, let me tell you what happened. I'll give you a quick story real quick. My son had a friend that lived on the next block over, and his friend's brother was being chased by his stepfather, and he was running to my house to get some help, and he was knocking on my door, and I came to my door with my gun in my hand, and the father was beating on the boy. I stopped that completely with my gun in my hand and brought the boy in the house, and the father left. Now, I don't know what caused this, but you're at my door, and it ain't gonna take place on my front steps. You know, it ain't gonna take place there. So, but not knowing who was there, no clue. It was actually my son's friend, but my gun was still in my hand when I came to that door because I wasn't going to that door to find out it wasn't a friend, it was a foe trying to get at me or someone else in my household. So I understand this empathy about age. I understand that, and I would hate to see a child get shot and killed. But you can't excuse that behavior because of the age. Because an 11-year-old can kill you just as quick as a 50-year-old can kill you.
Yes, true.
Yes. Yep.
Brother Larry, talk to us, my man.
You're on mute.
I'm sorry. I think it's my first time meeting Will Quick, so it's good to meet you and to all of you on it. My daughter had a reverse situation 2 weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago after she got married.
Wow.
And her husband works at night. She hears some knocking at the door. And then the knocking increased. It was more intensified. Boom, boom, boom. And it was 4 police officers. First thing that comes to her head is Breonna Taylor. So she didn't really know what to do. So as a result of that, she looked out at the peephole. She saw 4 police officers. She described them as one black, one Hispanic, one white. And so they asked if they could come in. Now, probably the previous people who lived in that particular co-op might have been someone there that lived, and might have been someone they were investigating, whatever. But she didn't know what to do because she's never experienced anything like that before. But the natural fear of being this woman of color, because when the intensity of the knock kicked in, I
scared.
They could have banged that. They could have kicked that door in. I mean, they really could have kicked that door in, and there might have been maybe I told her, I said to her, you didn't make any moves. They came in, said we just want to see. And they came in, they looked around, but that was it. So I made sure that her locks, her and her husband and I, we made sure that her locks were secure and things like that. Now that has nothing to do with an 11-year-old, and it really has nothing to do quite with those who were coming into someone's house. But now this is reverse. This is law enforcement. So if it's law enforcement, you have to kind of follow the orders, but you're also very vulnerable.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, just like we don't know the thinking of those 16-year-olds, we don't know the thinking of every law enforcement person either, no matter what color they are. So, they apologized, but that was a natural for me as a father, a certain instinctive fear that came over me, and I was just going to go by there and see. It didn't matter how I felt. That was my daughter that felt in danger.
What camp David Van Cliff asked also, did they have a warrant? I put a video up in the chat a while ago where this black guy's at the door and this police officer's knocking on the door, and he said, "What do you want?" He said, "We want to talk." He said, "Well, how many of you are out there?" He said, "Two." And jokingly, he said, "Well, talk to each other," you know, because you ain't coming in here to talk,
They had no warrant. They had no warrant, and she saw like about I think 4 of them, but they had no warrant. No.
So to that, well, Derek, you got your hand up. What's on your mind?
I was just gonna say that I know I've said it on here in the past, and I've said it to my family. When the police come to your door, if you did not request them, do not go to the door. Go to a window. Go to a window. And preferably not a window where they're on the same level as you. If your house is raised a little bit,
go upstairs.
Then you can use, if it's raised a little bit, you can use a first floor window. But if your house sits ground level, don't even use the first floor window. If you have a second floor, go to the second floor and use the second floor window. You are under no obligation, and you can let your daughter know this, you're under no obligation to open your door for the police unless they have a warrant. And if they have a warrant, they might just slam their way in anyway, but you are under no obligation to open your door for the police. You're under no obligation to talk to the police. So talk to them through a window and just make sure that they don't have access to you opening the door and them putting their foot in your door. Once they put their foot in your door, if you touch them, it's going to be an assault on a police officer, which is a felony. And you may beat it in court, but you'll have to hire an attorney and you'll miss days of work, and it'll cost you a ton of money to beat a charge that you never should have been charged with. So don't go to the door.
Mark, you got to follow up on that?
Yeah. So for camp, did they explain why? Like, I'm assuming you said your daughter called the police department to find out if they were cops or not.
No, she didn't call. She asked, and she looked out the peephole and saw that they were 4 police officers.
All right. So the best advice I could give, besides what Derek said, by not opening the door. Now, this was an apartment building, though, right?
Yes, sir.
So you didn't really have an option for the window, but that was good advice. But the other thing is you can always call the police department and let them know, hey, listen, I got 4 people banging on my door like crazy saying they're the police, but I don't know if they're the police because there's a lot of people who are going and impersonating themselves as police to gain entrance into homes. So we know that exists. So say, listen, call the police department. I've had it done to me. I was in a Chiefs uniform. I pulled a woman over, but I was in an unmarked car, and she called the police department, and they had to send a uniform car to her. So I waited, and they verified who I was, and then I gave her the ticket. But as far as that goes, you don't know that they're cops. And once you have them on the phone, say, listen, they're banging on my door like crazy. I don't want them to damage my door. And what do they want? And do that all on the phone. But as far as letting them in, if they don't have a warrant, no good. No bueno. Especially if she's by herself. So that would be the advice. Call the police department. Like Derek says, don't open the door and let them do what they got to do. And I would, like I say, when I call ask to speak to a supervisor and say, listen, these guys are banging on the door like crazy. They're about to bust my door open. You know, do they have a warrant? Who are they looking for? I just moved in 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever. Make sure you guys got your information right on whoever they're looking for. But don't even assume that they are police officers unless you can look out the window and see marked cars. But still, call the police department and find out why are these people banging on my door. Thanks.
I'll take that a step further, Mark. The way times are changing, even with what would normally be considered identifiers, I'm not so sure that you can be so comfortable that they're legit. The way times are changing under those circumstances.
I said marked cars. But
well, I mean, even with marked cars, because I've seen black and white cars that were sold at auction that are out there, and because people just see black and white, they're not looking to see if they've got the lights. They're not looking to see if they've got the logo. They just see black and white, and they presume that it's a car, a police car. So that's what I'm saying, how times are changing.
Did y'all see Jim's, or did you see Jim's response?
Yes, I
did. and Jim, I'm the exact opposite. Even if it was confirmed that they were police officers, I'm not opening the door. If I didn't call you, we don't need to talk. And I'll go to a window and you can speak your piece real quickly, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time in that window either. And that's if you're confirmed to be a police officer.
Derek, I totally understand that. I totally understand that. But coming from me, if I had a couple of white guys on this panel right now, they'd back me up 100%.
I agree.
There's a different thought process, and you saw the word, you saw what it was. You saw what I said it was, and that's what it is.
Hey, Jim, I agree with you about 10 years ago. But now times have changed, things have changed, and I'm with Derek. I'm not answering the door. Before, I'd answer the door, and I was more at ease. But the way things are now, times have changed, and so have I. But on the last thing, Camp, I'm glad things turned out okay, and I'm glad she's all right.
Well, everything has changed except for your color.
Well, thank you for your advice. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I'm sorry. And Renee Henderson said the same thing you said, Derek. That she would look out from her window up top. That she would look out from her window. That's in the comments.
D.
Really, really quick. I know we don't want to beat this dead horse. Let me drop this hand. 3 quick things I wanted to say. This is to you, Melba. I was listening to your conversation, and I loved your thought process. But the adult mind, those kids are adult dead. So we got to stop separating the two. When I teach our youngsters, I don't care if they're 5, I understand dead is dead. It's not a better dead if you're 12 or a worse dead if you're 20. So the mindset is we have to teach them to think as adults in any situation, because that's how quick something can happen. Will, you and Derek said it best. You want to look for the ID. When the thousands and thousands of warrants that I used to do, we made sure we had uniform cars. We were all that's the conversation to what we were upset about this ICE. I had overly. You knew every agency I was with. It was hanging from my neck and on my back and hanging from the shoulders. We were as identified as humanly possible. And something that's not discussed, and we talk about, people say, oh, if you have a warrant, that's a stop. If I have a warrant, I'm taking your doors off the hinges. I don't have to talk to you. Let's be clear. If I got a warrant, piece of paper in my hand that gives me the right to go through that door, my knock, and I want to be clear, is a courtesy. I'd rather you open the door. But that piece of paper lets me take that door and anything behind it off the hinges. So I don't want to give people a wrong idea. Let me have these conversations, and we do this with the stops, right? We want to have conversations that we're not supposed to have, right? I need a warrant. I'll take your door off the hinges. That's fine. And here's the thing. You guys that work in the city, No corporation counsel. Good luck. Good luck getting it fixed. You know, and people are like, oh, you're gonna fix my door. Listen, mama.
So can I ask you something? Can I ask you something, D?
I knock first. Yes, sir.
If the knock is a courtesy knock, if that's courtesy, what's the bang bang?
What's that?
If the knock is a courtesy knock,
okay.
What's the bang bang? The intensity of the banging.
Okay, it's a progression.
What category would you call that one?
All right, it's a progression. So initially we knock. It's the police. We're not getting any response. The last thing we want to do is take your door off the hinges. Trust me. We get a little harder knock. Ma'am, the police, we're announcing. Everybody, you got flashlights out around the house. You know what? The cops all over the place. You can make that call. Come on, Mark. You can make that call. They'll tell you because we got to let the local precinct know we're there. They know we're there. And they know why we're there. You can make that call. It's a progression because the last possible thing we want to do is take your door off the hinges. That's the last thing we want to do. So it's a mindset of, I'm letting you know this is serious. People don't take the police serious these days. When I was working, I said it once. Right now, you got to say it 10 times. Ma'am, 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 ma'am. Everything in my brain explodes. I said it once. Get out of the car. Now you get help. Open the window. Now it's in a million pieces. I don't have time. That's not the conversation you can have. But we've put ourselves in a position that we're having conversations we shouldn't have. And in that, Reverend Camp, in those conversations, that's where I see the bad stuff happening. Right? If I know I can't have a conversation, if I go into the chief's office, there's certain things I can say and I can't say. I know that. But there's a progression. When he's talking, I don't talk. Come on, Mark, talk to me. Where's Jim? When they talking, I don't talk. They know that. I don't interrupt them. We have to get the public to understand the rules first. You read my book again. The rules first. And I know in 2 or 3, 0.1% of the situations you got bad cops. But most of the time, I spent 32 years, and it brings me to tears. I'm doing everything so I don't take your door off the hinges. And you make me take your door off the hinges. Mm-hmm. You make me pull you out through the window. Mm-hmm. You make me drag you on the asphalt. I'm trying not to. I know the rules. So in those conversations is where the bad stuff happens. I don't like to have those conversations. And if I teach our youth, and if they're youth watching, all these conversations you see on YouTube, they're not legal to have. You're in a bad location. You're in a bad situation. And that's when people get hurt. I taking a gun to someone's house, and I'm gonna use Don as an example because it's my boy. I taking a gun to Don. I understand there's no middle ground. Man, there's no middle ground. You come to this door and there's no middle ground. So when we start out having those real conversations, all of these little, well, it could have been, you could have been dead. And that's what I don't want. And that's why we have to be very clear with our youth, Melba, very clear. There's certain things, I tell my boy, there's certain things you cannot do. I don't care that they doing it. Come on, Jim. I don't care that Jim boys are doing it. It's a wonderful thing. Rah, rah, shish, boom, bah. AC, you can't do that. We knew that. Come on now. We knew there's certain conversations Jim could have that I can't have. And I used to push Jim to go have those conversations. Go head over there. You tell him how it is because I know I can't say it. Certain things I can't do it. So I just want to be clear because we got a lot of people listening that don't understand that we're in that conversational area. We're in an upside down world. Understand the rules are upside down. Now you're having conversations you can't have. Bad stuff is happening. That's the reason for this show. Bad stuff is happening. At the end of the day, I do this. I used to do this in my class. Let me get back so y'all can see. You see my hands? I ain't got. That gets you home at the end of the night. All these conversations. Officer, you don't have a warrant. What did you stop me for? Sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Now you got glass in your hair, cut up. and you locked up at the station with me. And you wonder, well, I just wanted to know why. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. I'm sorry. That's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry. I could go on forever. I'm sorry.
Okay. Don.
Yeah, Mark. Oh, go to Mark first because Mark had his hand up, and then I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thanks, Don. Well, what D is talking about is a warrant situation. Larry, to answer your question, that was an intimidation that I'm going to knock on the door. I'm assuming that they didn't have a warrant, so we're not really talking about a warrant situation. But that's an intimidation where I'm going to keep banging on this door, so somebody inside, or maybe they heard somebody moving around. Now they know somebody's in there. They're going to intimidate you to make you think they're coming through the door. So that's why I said, call the police department immediately, and then tell them they're banging on this door like they're going to go through it. Now, if they turn around and on the police on the phone, they say, well, they have a warrant, then that changes it, like Dee said. But if they don't have a warrant, they don't have a right to be banging that door in. So then it's back to what Derek says, don't answer the door. The other thing I wanted to say real quick was generally, I don't know how it is in every department. Will can answer it when I'm done. Generally, we send, like, say, for instance, D shows up, state trooper, he shows up to Hempstead 8. We got to go to this house and knock on the door, whether it's a warrant or not a warrant. We'll send one of our officers there. So when you look out, you'll be like, oh, there's a Hempstead cop there. And it shouldn't be an unmarked car. It should be a marked car. So the resident or that subject knows, okay, Hempstead's here, so these guys are legit. And it's a little bit more hairy now because of the ICE and them suiting up and masking up. But if they do something, if I'm a boss and ICE comes to Hempstead, I'm sending my uniform guys there for the protection of the public, more so than the protection of the ICE officers. Because I want the public not to do something thinking that they're getting robbed or somebody's, attacking them. They'll see the police there and they won't get themselves jammed up any further than whatever's going on. That was it. Thanks, Don. I think got something.
Jim had his hand up. Jim had a hand up.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Dee was saying. I think Dee was bringing a conversation a little bit different as well as what Mark just said, in that I have a conversation with the police different than you guys do. When a police car is pulling me over, I don't do what you guys do. There is a difference. Mm-hmm. We know what that is. So Dee is right that there is a conversation that goes on between me and the police at the door or me and the police at the car window, then you guys have to do. It's a sad state of affairs, but let's make it its reality. It is what it is. And we all exist on this show to try to find a way to undo that. I mean, that's right. Really what this was all about.
That's right. And Jim, when you come to the door with a cup of coffee, we come to the door with putting locks on, double protection. But there is a difference. But let me just say that these are not my views. I'm just coming back. Richard Bowden says, why did they not interview the boy's father? Brian Camp said a split second can determine life and death. Absolutely. David Van Cliff says, did they have a warrant? No warrant, no access to my property. Karen Caffey says maybe 10 years ago in Los Angeles, an 11-year-old boy took his mother's car and was joyriding in South LA. The police tried to stop the car, not knowing the driver's age. The driver attempted to back into the officers, who shot into the car and killed the boy. Apparently, he had a juvenile history and his mother didn't know that he had taken the car. It happens. She should have called. Colleen says, unfortunately, you are already scared, so logic goes out the window. David Van Cleef says, again, we have nuts in Tennessee, TN, buying decommissioned cars, playing highway patrol. Yeah, you can see some of them around here in Suffolk County. Colleen says, you guys are old school. The new cops are a different breed. Thank you, Colleen, for calling us old. Karen Caffey says the gangs rolled in Crown Vics all over Los Angeles County. Okay. Brian Camp says complied and both sides live to see another day. Comply and both sides live to see another day. David Van Cliff says Karen Caffey, the Crown Vics are old school. We have Dodge Chargers not here. Okay, so and I know he said earlier, David Van Cliff said something about if you come to my house unannounced, you hit a 12 gauge. But if you remain there and come in, you'll feel you'll see the smoke. so let them know, listen, you come up in here, it's gonna be a different start. I just wanted to get those comments in there. I'm done, Will.
For our listeners, as you can tell, this is exactly why we exist, to have these conversations, because we started off in a place, but we're finding that the conversations don't exist in a vacuum one to the next. They have a tendency to intermingle and overlap. And that's how we wound up where we are here. Now, with respect to what we've talked about all encompassing, yes, we are it is a different breed of officer nowadays, but the expectation is different as well. Because it used to be a time that we were the authority and we expected as a culture and a profession that that's the way we would be addressed. Things have changed. People recognize that there's a constitutional amendment, the Fourth Amendment, that guarantees them the right against unlawful search and seizure. And they are learning how to make that application. Unfortunately, it's out in the street sometimes, but that doesn't excuse the fact they have that protection. Now, as opposed to us being the authority, we have to consider de-escalation when we respond to things. So we have that responsibility. Things have changed. And I know for a lot of people, they feel like that has softened us as officers, maybe from a certain perspective. But if we are trying to continually improve trust and credibility, there are some changes that we are going to have to make in the profession that are going to have to hopefully overshadow some of the missteps that we've made historically. Mark?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out the answer. Will your department send your own officers, your local officers, if an outside agency responds to do something within your jurisdiction?
To my knowledge, we would typically, as a courtesy, an outside agency would do that. But again, the political culture is different. The last department that I worked for would probably be characterized as ultra conservative. But the sheriff's office has jurisdiction all around the county. And we were seeing evidence, or we were seeing occasions where the sheriff's office was executing enforcement action within city jurisdiction. But he's a sheriff. They don't have to answer to the local police. That's a courtesy. So what you're seeing right now is, as you said, your concern for the community because you see an arm that's operating outside of what we know to be good policing. And we have a responsibility to protect them against that bad policing. Sooner or later, I hope never, but I can see sooner or later a department that has a conscience that truly believes in what their function is, and they run up on ice in a situation like that, that could be a bad day. Anything else, or we're going to move on to the next one?
Before you go to the next, just want to give one more comment. David Van Cliff says, great conversation, informative and enlightening. You can go to the next video.
So really quick, did we want to do the ding dong ditch? We talked about it. We kind of beat
Let's
it
show
up.
it. Oh, you don't want to show it?
No,
we know, but we did
I mean,
a
we've
run
already
on
laid
it.
some groundwork.
He says no.
It's gonna take us right to the end if you want to go that way.
What you think?
I don't want to leave Melba out there because she had her opinion on that.
All right,
and I want her. I really want to take a quick look at it, and we can go from there.
Let's do that.
Charged with murder in the shooting death of an 11-year-old boy playing ding dong ditch. Julian Guzman was running away from a home after ringing the doorbell when police say Gonzalo Leon Jr. fired several shots. Guzman collapsed a few blocks away from the home, and medics rushed that boy to the hospital where he died the next day.
Tragically, they picked a house to do it potentially 3 different times in the span of about 15 or 20 minutes. On the 3rd time, the homeowner was laying in wait for him to come back.
Wow. During the search of the suspect's home, police say they found multiple assault rifles near the front door among the 20 different firearms throughout the house.
A dream wedding turns into a nightmare when a wedding.
Now, I'm going to jump on this real quick. The statement that he made was the homeowner laid in wait. Those were the words that he used, because apparently they've been circulating that they have been doing this. So that changes the whole dynamic of this thing. I think if everybody would agree with me. They said that the homeowner, this was his words, that the homeowner laid in wait.
Yeah.
Mark, you had your hand up.
Sounds like at that point it was premeditated. I was going to say before that, though, that we have to teach our kids that, there's going to be consequences to their choices, and although we have freedom, our freedom stops when it infringes on someone else's freedom. That was something I used to tell a lot of people when I would go to the house, I'm in my house, blah, blah, blah. But this is a different situation. Now that we found out that this guy was waiting for this kid to come back, the one thing I'll say, we as police officers know we're not supposed to shoot somebody fleeing. Okay, the average civilian may not. And the way the government is running certain states by allowing people to have guns without permits, without those permits, they're also not getting the education that they shouldn't be shooting somebody who's running away. And we have to take that into account. And it's not a justification, but it's a need that, and I think Jim has said it, we need a federal understanding with these guns as far as anybody who gets the gun should have to get a permit. The police department should know you have those guns, and there should be some type of education that goes along with having that gun. And that's a problem, because that's not the way it is.
You're right, Derek.
Yeah, when I brought it up before, I brought it up to bring attention to the negligence of the parents, or the possible negligence of the parents. Again, whether it's a babysitter, whether the kid snuck out, someone should know the kid's out of the house. And, I don't know how many of us have alarms in our house, but from the time my kids were, I think I got an alarm when the oldest one was 3 months old. And it's not just to let me know if someone comes in the house. It's to let me know if someone's opening a door or window to try to leave the house, or opening a door or window, period. It alerts you to let you know that there's an entry or egress point at your house. And I think more parents should concern themselves with that. Also, ding dong ditch, as we knew it, as we knew Doorbell Dixie or whatever it was we played, you literally rang someone's bell and ran away. We saw the video of that kid, I believe it was in Michigan, that football star, and him and his friends went, they were kicking the door as hard as they could. So I'm surprised they didn't actually break into that house when that kid got shot. But these kids are kicking the door as hard as they can. If you're inside your house, that's alarming. And that's the type of thing that's going to make you get ready for war. And when someone's kicking your door like that and running away, you don't know how old they are. Even if the guy sees the kid running away, you don't know the kid's 11 years old. They could be some short, slim dude trying to break into your house. And everyone doesn't know the laws like police officers do. A lot of people think that you could shoot someone over property, and they do it. But these kids have to understand, the parents have to understand, these kids are putting themselves in harm's way. And, once you get home, there's no coming back from it.
And Derek, to the point that you made about that, whereas the point was made about prevention on behalf of the homeowner, that they have a ring camera to see what's going on, whatever the case may be. You made the same point, but on the other side of that discussion, that, okay, if the kid snuck out, most everybody's got an alarm system, or you can just have a sensor on your windows or doors that just creates a chime. The point I'm trying to make is, in this day and time, we cannot afford to let children do youthful things outside of the house. But once upon a time, it was considered innocent. It was considered harmless. We got way too many people that are way too happy with gun ownership. And I would rather see my child denied that opportunity to play ding dong ditch, than for them to wind up in the front yard. And if it means me having that conversation with them and putting in certain safeguards to keep them from doing that, I'll live with that.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a youthful thing or a harmless thing if they're doing it at 11 o'clock at night. I mean, 11 o'clock at night, you banging on someone's door, kicking someone's door, you are alarming anyone that's home. Anyone that's home at 11 o'clock at night, it's alarming. So that's not something youthful. That's not youthful playing. You're playing with your safety.
Well, I say youthful in the context of what we were saying we did when we was kids, but that's what we talked about, the difference in times.
Yeah.
ACU, what you got? There you go.
Yeah. In reference to this, I don't want to take the smoke from other people, so I'm not going to talk about the child. I'm going to see this person as just a person. If someone's ringing your doorbell at 11 o'clock at night and it happens you went there twice already, nobody's there, and you get the third time, I understand you being real pissed off. But as mentioned earlier, also a well-regulated militia. There ain't no reason why you shouldn't have some kind of gun laws that require some kind of education, so you know you can't shoot people running away from your house. I'm not saying you shouldn't wonder what's going on, try to figure it out. But if someone rings your doorbell and run away from your house, I don't think you're supposed to chase them and shoot them. Now that's my understanding. Maybe I don't know what actually happened because I wasn't there. I just know this little clip we got right there. Then, when someone's rings your doorbell and runs away from your house, you should be alarmed. If they do it 3 times, you should be pissed off, annoyed, and alarmed. I'm still not sure you should be chasing them. It's just not a good tactical advantage chasing someone when you're leaving your house.
Agreed. Now, Mark, real quick, when he's running away, when they show the picture of that young man at nighttime running away, more often than not, what would he be described as? A young white male. You saw how light his complexion was.
Well, that picture, they always show the most innocent picture.
Well, no, I'm just talking about from the standpoint of his complexion, because we all know that sometimes these conversations do have a complexion component, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's the point that I'm trying to make in this situation. In that, from what I saw of that picture, and I'm trying to envision seeing him running away. If I was to give a description rather than 5 shots, I would probably describe him as a young white male. I didn't see anything running from the back that would describe him as a Hispanic male. So that's just my point to that component of this. Mark, I saw you had your hand up.
Well, to answer that, it could be the neighborhood too. If you're in a Hispanic neighborhood, then when you see somebody who's light-skinned, you're probably not going to think they're white. You're going to think they're Spanish. But what I wanted to know was, what was the area that this happened? And do they have a stand your ground law?
It was Houston.
Right. So does anybody know if they have a stand your ground law? That changes the dynamic on a lot of things.
Let's assume it is.
So the thing with stand your ground laws, and correct me if I'm wrong, we talk about it because it's not that way in New York. But, we always talk about you can defend your life, but not your property. But the way it can be twisted, especially with people who don't know the law, They're thinking, hey, I'm protecting my house, so I can shoot. So it's just a different point of view. Once again, I'm not justifying it, but it plays a role in civilians' minds and what they can and cannot do.
Stand your ground. You still have to articulate reasonably the threat.
But that civil is not thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah. Jim?
This is nothing more than premeditated murder. We know this guy. He rang the bell, ran away. Guy got annoyed, rang the bell, ran away. Guy got very annoyed, and then waited for him to do it a third time. Wasn't protecting anything. He knew what he was going to do. Now, I don't know if he really wanted to shoot and kill the kid or scare him. That part, I guess it'll be discussed in a trial. But he knew exactly what he was doing on that third shot. But Mark said this earlier, and I'll just say it real quick so I don't go crazy on this. Gun control, gun control, gun control. This guy had multiple weapons. He's a veteran. He has got no license, no education on when to shoot or not to shoot. This wasn't Afghanistan. This was an 11-year-old ringing his bell and running away. Maybe he has some kind of problems from the military. I don't know. But once I saw that, and we all saw it together, this was the third ring. That guy knew exactly what was going on. And he was just annoyed. Maybe he was drunk. Who knows? But it was a premeditated shooting. No doubt about it.
Now, point of clarification. Was it the third ring at his residence, or had they been reported as hitting other residents and he was waiting to see? I couldn't quite figure out.
I got the impression,
it was the third at his residence in 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, to the other point, Jim, I didn't hear anything that determined whether or not he had licenses for those guns. So that's just the point of clarity and clarification for our listeners.
So what state was that in?
Texas.
No, didn't need anything.
Yeah, and I also didn't hear anything to the extent of what his training was with guns, other than he's prime military, and clearly he's familiar because he got a boatload of them.
You know how to buy them.
Yeah. Melvin.
Okay. D-Scoon, I absolutely agree with you. It is poor decision for that child to be out at that time of night. I agree with you that it is a poor decision to play with somebody's doorbell. However, when you want to talk about consequences, it still does not make it proper that an 11-year-old is dead for ringing somebody's doorbell and fleeing. They don't say what the situation is with the parents, how that 11-year-old snuck out the house at that time of the night, what kind of supervision was going on. We don't know. We don't know that aspect. But what we do know is that a fully adult male made the decision to camp out at his door because he was annoyed that his doorbell was ringing that time of night, and that he was going to shoot whoever rang his doorbell again at that time of night. And made the decision to run outside his door to shoot a fleeing child in the back with a gun. And we want to hold the child to an adult standard when the adult is also not using proper decision making. There's no reason for you to exit your door with a gun when you are already safely inside to shoot a child. I get annoyed all the time. People cut me off driving. I have a right to be I'm in Georgia. Second Amendment rights. My right, my gun, all the time. I have the right to have my gun. It still does not absolve me of consequences if I use that gun because this person pissed me off because they cut me off. It does not absolve me of the consequences when I shoot a child at my doorstep because they rang my doorbell. And that is and I think, and I said what I said, there's a big difference between 16-year-olds masked and shooting shots into my house and 11-year-old who's rang my doorbell and he shouldn't have been out at that time of night.
Good thought. Good thought. I don't think you'll get a unanimous opinion on that. Oh, I'm sorry. There's three hands that went up on there. We're almost out of time, y'all.
And we running tight on time.
Yeah. So let's go. Well, you waited till the last minute, Rich. So don't be like surprised. But go ahead. You got the three. Will.
Go ahead,
saying
Mark.
surprised. I'm just saying I haven't said anything, and I just had a point. That's all.
Mark, would you like to hand the floor over to Rich?
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Sure.
You know what? We know that's premeditated murder that happened there. My point was just a point before we get off. Is my big concern right now, not germane to this, that these troops that are being stationed in these blue cities and the ICE that are masked up and assaulting people and taking them off the streets. I think this particular felon 47 is not going to be happy until American troops are shooting Americans on American soil. And that's my bigger concern right now, just as a point that I wanted to make before we ran out of time, that I'm highly concerned about that first action of one of the troops shooting an American on American soil. That's a tragic horror. They keep stirring this pot, it's going to eventually happen. And that was my one point. And I know we're out of time, but that's a serious conversation and a concern, I think, for a lot of Americans. Thanks,
right, so we're going to run it right to the end. We got about 3 minutes. Mark.
Listen,
Mark, indeed.
I done lost my train of thought. What's I going to say? We can't keep saying 11-year-old. Unless this guy knew that a person was banging on his door consistently every 15 minutes. Okay, after the fact, we found out that this kid is 11 years old. But when somebody's banging on your door and you look out and the guy's running away, unless it's like clearly obvious that this kid is a kid, we really can't say. We don't know how tall he was. We don't know what he was dressed like. You know, sometimes my grandson can wear clothes where he'll look his age. Sometimes he wears the sweats where you can't tell what age he is, especially from the back. So let us not mix the facts of what we know with the facts of what this guy knew at the time it happened. And a lot of times that we see video, we get the explanation, and we judge it on that. But no, this guy just had somebody banging on his door 3 times. Next thing you know, he goes.
It doesn't really matter if he's 11 years old. You're in the safety of your home. You're in the safety of your home, fully armed. Call the police. Wait for them to handle what's going on outside. Because if they come in to your house, that's another situation. But that person is already outside, and they're ringing your doorbell, and is it annoying? Yes. However, once you step outside and you start blasting off without paying attention to maybe this is a child, maybe it's a fully adult. I'm just saying, why is the child being held to a higher standard than the adult that has more resources available to him?
And with that, we're at the bottom of the hour. As you all can tell, this one's striking a chord with us from different perspectives. Everyone respect it because I'm with you, Mel, but I feel it. I see an 11-year-old child, and you all heard me use this before. I am still of a mindset of an ounce prevention is worth a pound of cure. And there's prevention that could have been done on both sides. And that's the only point that I'm trying to make. Because if you're talking about culpability on both sides, then the order in which these things happens becomes very, very relevant. And we can't ignore the order of this. If we're talking about prevention on both sides, then the order is if the man had made a different choice, this would have been after the fact, to call the police, then the young man would be alive. If the young man didn't do the ding-dong ditch, he would be alive. But you're right. An 11-year-old with a bullet in his back, there's no way you can package that up to feel good about it. So I feel you on that 110%. But we're at the bottom of the hour, 4:30, which is our shut off time. I hate to leave folks hanging because, you know, this is still something that's very fresh. It might actually carry on after the show. But thanks to our panel, thanks to our guests, our Karen Caffey, David Van Cleef, Colleen Bull, Richard Bowden, all the usuals, and even a few new names that popped up on there. Wonderful to see our roll call crew, Mr. Larry Camp. Thanks for joining us today, and everybody else. Don, do you have anything to close us out, sir?
No, just thank you for the input. And I'm like David Van Cleef. It was very informative, very enlightening. And as you can see, we have different opinions on this. Melba is going to always be a mother. So you're gonna get that from her. She's going to always be a mother. Rarely do I go against Melba, but I'm not with Melba on this one because, like Mark said, there's information we have now after the fact that this man probably didn't have up front. So I don't know what he was going through. I don't know how annoyed he was at someone knocking on his door 3 times and running. You know, I don't know. But it would annoy me to no end. It would annoy me to no end. Now, I don't know if I'm coming out shooting, but in states where you have that right to do certain things, and listen, it's different than it is in New York. It'd be a different story here in New York. But I'm just saying, you know, 11 years old, he's dead. I'm so sorry to hear that. I mean, if anyone could sit up and say, "Oh, well, he got what he's supposed to get," well, I don't know if you're really looking at it from that. I mean, that's really the way you should look at it. We're not saying that as roll call either. We're definitely not saying that. But we're actually saying that, well, what about the other person? Did he have a right to defend himself? And remember, I always say this, and I'm closing with this. I'm sorry. I'm closing with this. Just because you have the right does not give you the right. I've always said that from day number one. Just because you have the right does not give you the right. There's times that as police officers, you have the right to shoot someone, and you don't do it. You don't do it.
You can be validated in your feelings without justified in your actions.
Exactly. So again, thank you, Will, for hosting us. Thank you for. Oh, I'm sorry, D. Go ahead, D.
Yeah, really one good thing. Listen, right after we're done, I put the video up on YouTube. I want to try to build a channel. We want to try to build a channel. So just for everybody in the room, just click on it, like, share, subscribe, whatever, just so we can get some. If we want to extend our audience, we might want to do it there. So just make sure you click on subscribe, share it with anybody. I'm going to put it in the chat so we all have it.
Thank you so much.
My page.
Right, we're gonna be trying to expand this, and believe me, we're getting a lot of views too during the week and stuff. And I share it on my personal page as well. All right, listen, no one else. Let us say the prayer so we can move on, because I know this discussion is not over. I know it's not over with. But thank you guys for Facebook Live for joining us and being with us. Great discussion on today. And we appreciate you taking time to join us each and every Thursday afternoon. Again, happy anniversary to Rich and Isabel, JT and Orlando. Mark, we're praying for you. Larry Camp, congratulations on your daughter's wedding and your new son-in-love. And everyone else who needs prayer. Cheech, we're definitely praying for you and your family. All right. Let us pray. God, our Father, we thank you. We praise you. We lift you up on today. We ask that, God, you will watch over all those who are going through their trials and tribulations, that you will give them strength for their journey. We thank you for each and every person on the sound of my voice. Thank you for those who are on Facebook Live and those who are on YouTube. We thank you, dear God, for just leading us into this discussion. And Lord God, we pray, dear God, that when this is all over, you will be with us and you will keep us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.